Have you ever stood at a crossroads, where every path seemed fraught with peril, yet also held a glimmer of unexpected promise? This is the story of Europe today, a continent facing a challenge so immense it threatens to reshape its very industrial heartland. It's a tale not just of economic data and policy debates, but of resilience, of difficult choices, and the quiet, determined struggle to forge a path to success against overwhelming odds. This is the story of Europe's second China shock. For decades, the European industrial machine was a symbol of quality, innovation, and enduring strength. Its factories, the lifeblood of nations, produced the world's most advanced machinery and automobiles. But what happens when that foundation is shaken by a seismic shift from halfway across the world? Europe is now grappling with a new reality, a tidal wave of advanced low-cost goods from China. An economic phenomenon economists are calling the second China shock. This isn't a repeat of the past. When China joined the World Trade Organization in 2001, the first shock brought a flood of consumer goods, clothing, toys, and simple electronics. It was a challenge, but one that primarily affected the lower end of the market. This time is different. This time, the wave is crashing against the very core of Europe's industrial might. The new challenge is laser-focused and formidable. We're talking about sophisticated industrial robots and a dizzying array of modern automobiles, pouring into European Union ports at prices that leave local manufacturers reeling. It's a 1-2 punch. Not only are European companies finding it harder to sell their own products in a competitive global market, but they are now fighting a defensive battle on their home turf. This isn't just about market share. It's a battle for the future of European manufacturing, a struggle that pits decades of industrial heritage against a new and powerful economic force. To understand this storm, we must look to its source. The immense export pressure from China is not an accident. It is the direct result of a perfect storm within its own economy. A colossal buildup of industrial capacity, far exceeding its domestic needs, has coincided with a slowdown in its own internal demand. Compounding this, the United States, a traditional major market for Chinese goods, is preparing to implement new, higher tariffs starting in 2025. Faced with closing doors in one direction, Chinese exporters have turned their full attention to the open markets of Europe. This strategic pivot has led to a flood of products, a practice that many in the West have criticized as market dumping, threatening the delicate balance of fair competition. The numbers themselves tell a story of breathtaking speed and scale. In Brussels, a special monitoring force established by the European Commission is tracking the influx, and the initial figures paint a stark picture of the challenge ahead. Over the last year ending in October, the data reveals a dramatic surge in key industrial sectors. Imports of Chinese industrial robots, the very machines that power modern factories, have skyrocketed by an astonishing 171%. Simultaneously, their average price has plummeted by 31%. In the critical field of microchips, the building blocks of our digital world, imports have surged by 84%, while prices have dropped by 6%. Perhaps most visibly, the European automotive industry, a source of immense pride and employment, is facing unprecedented pressure. Imports of Chinese automobiles have doubled in just 1 year, with their average price falling by a significant 15%. These are not just abstract statistics. They represent a direct and immediate threat to European manufacturers who are already caught in a difficult position. They are grappling with weak demand from the Chinese market itself and facing the ripple effects of American tariff policies. It's a fight for survival, waged not on a battlefield of steel, but on spreadsheets and shipping manifests, where every percentage point can mean the difference between thriving and closing factory doors. In the face of this onslaught, the natural instinct is to fight back. Calls are growing louder within the European Union for a robust response, for broad anti-dumping tariffs similar to those levied against Chinese electric vehicles in 2024. It seems like a simple solution: build a wall of tariffs to protect domestic industries. However, the reality of Europe's situation is far more complex, tangled in a web of dependencies and strategic dilemmas. Forging a unified, tough stance is proving incredibly difficult, hindered by 3 major obstacles that reveal the continent's unique vulnerabilities. The first great obstacle is the deep, intricate web of dependence that ties the EU to China. Unlike the United States, Europe's economic relationship with China is far more symbiotic and therefore more fragile. China is not just a competitor. It is also a vital export market for many of Europe's largest and most iconic corporations, from German automakers to French luxury brands. Furthermore, European industries rely heavily on China for a vast array of raw materials and essential components that are critical to their own production lines. A full-blown trade war, marked by retaliatory tariffs, could backfire spectacularly. If Beijing were to respond in kind, the blow to these major EU corporations operating within China could be devastating, potentially causing far greater economic damage than the initial problem they sought to solve. The second hurdle is intertwined with Europe's own ambitious vision for the future: the green transition. The continent has committed itself to a massive industrial transformation, shifting away from fossil fuels toward renewable energy. This noble journey, however, comes with a hidden cost. Industrial electricity prices in the EU, averaging around 0.199 euros per kilowatt-hour, are already significantly higher than in China. This puts European manufacturers at a distinct cost disadvantage. Raising tariffs on Chinese goods could make this problem even worse. Why? Because the EU's green transition is heavily reliant on Chinese technology. Solar panels, wind turbine components, and the batteries powering the electric vehicle revolution are all imported in massive quantities from China. Imposing tariffs on these essential goods would not only raise their costs, but also risk stalling the entire green strategy, putting Europe's climate goals in jeopardy. It's a classic catch-22. Protecting old industries could cripple the growth of new ones. The third and final obstacle is perhaps the most politically delicate. It is the allure of direct investment. While one hand of the Chinese economy sends a flood of exports, the other is extending offers of investment, creating jobs and stimulating local economies across the continent. Countries like Germany, Hungary, and Spain are at the forefront of this trend, welcoming a wave of direct investment from Chinese manufacturers, especially in the booming battery and electric vehicle sectors. These new factories create much-needed jobs, generate tax revenue, and bring a sense of economic vitality. This puts national governments in an incredibly difficult position. How can a leader passionately argue for tough, protectionist policies against China in Brussels, and then return home to celebrate the grand opening of a new Chinese-owned factory that has brought prosperity to their constituents? This division of interests within the EU itself makes a unified, hardline response a monumental, if not impossible, political challenge. Yet, in every great challenge, there lies an unexpected opportunity. Amid the macroeconomic anxieties and the genuine struggles of its industrial sector, this influx of cheap goods from China presents a surprising silver lining, a countercurrent opportunity that could offer a much-needed lifeline to the European economy as a whole. This unexpected benefit comes in the form of a powerful deflationary pressure, a welcome relief in an era of high inflation. The data is compelling. Over the past 12 months, the average price of all goods imported from China into the European Union has fallen by a remarkable 20%. This is not a minor fluctuation. It is a significant downward trend that has a direct and measurable impact on the cost of living for ordinary European citizens. This basket of Chinese goods, from electronics to household items to car parts, directly influences approximately 23% of the Eurozone's consumer price index. The key measure of inflation: the cheaper these goods become, the more they help to anchor overall prices and ease the financial burden on households. This phenomenon provides a crucial gift to the policymakers at the European Central Bank (ECB), the gift of flexibility. Economic forecasts suggest that the continued flow of cheaper Chinese goods could help reduce the region's inflation rate by an estimated 0.15 percentage points by the year 2026. While this may sound like a small number, in the world of monetary policy, it is significant. It could grant the ECB the precious policy space it needs to act. With inflation under better control, the central bank would have more room to lower interest rates. This, in turn, would stimulate economic growth by making it cheaper for businesses to invest and for consumers to borrow. It's effectively reducing financing costs across the entire Eurozone and helping to spark a much-needed recovery. So Europe stands at its crossroads, caught in a profound and complex dilemma. On one side, it faces the fierce, undeniable pressure of intense industrial competition that threatens its manufacturing heritage. On the other, it reaps the unexpected macroeconomic benefits of the deflationary pressure that this very competition brings. This is not a simple story of good versus evil, of victim and aggressor. It is a story of adaptation, a journey through a new and uncertain economic landscape. It is a test of Europe's ability to balance the needs of its industries with the health of its wider economy, to protect its workers while embracing the forces of global change. The path forward is not yet clear, but it is in navigating this very difficulty, in making these tough, nuanced choices, that Europe will define its economic future and ultimately find its way to a new kind of success.